So unlike the vast majority of presentations you've heard where someone gets on stage and tells you how to change something, this is going to be about how to think more inside the box. So this was our American dream. In Austin, Texas, we emptied out our bank accounts to afford the down payment on this stick-framed, traditional, good old American home, and could not have been more excited. It needed a ton of work, but we dove in passionately. We were thrilled. And then the problem started. There was the poison ivy underneath the house that I had to crawl through to repair the leaky plumbing. There was the lack of any layout that was anything like what we or our friends wanted, not having 2.5 children. And sometimes I'd fantasize about just being able to pick up this house and move it when I needed to fix something underneath it. So basically I did. I finally did something I'd talked about for years. We bought a shipping container, had it delivered to the backyard. In a final insult to the house in front, this truck actually ran into the traditional house, knocked it off its foundation a little bit on the way. And then it sat there for over a year. I was overwhelmed by options. I finally could do whatever I wanted. I had this blank slate, no legacy systems to deal with, no poison ivy to crawl through, no itchy fiberglass insulation. I didn't know what to do, so it sat there for a long time. And eventually, this is how it ended up. Basically a spare bedroom for when we had guests in town, a little bit of insulation, some windows, nothing too fancy. This didn't seem to really be pushing what we could do with this adult Lego that we'd found. So we took on a more ambitious project. This is Shop in a Box. We gathered together all the materials we needed to have an off-grid metalworking factory, shipped them to rural Kenya in a container, and then unfolded the container to create an off-grid metalworking shop, essentially in the middle of nowhere. So this was a great adventure, and it really, kind of cemented a lifelong love of shipping containers for me. They could do even more than I thought they could.
So we left Kenya and moved to San Francisco. We wound up in the Mission District and found an apartment that was about 1,000 square feet, paying $4,200 a month for it, which meant that we didn't have a lot of extra to work on interesting projects. And at the end of the year, when our lease came up, we kind of looked over our options and found this half-acre vacant lot in West Oakland for a fraction of the price, and realized that this was really the opportunity for us to build the housing situation that we really wanted to be in. So for about the cost of 2 months' rent in the Mission, we got the project off the ground and got our first container delivered for $2,200. And instead of spending a lot more money renting another apartment or getting a hotel, for the first month and a half, we really stuck with the tiny theme and lived in this 2-person tent with our 80-pound dog. And there were definitely a couple days that I questioned that decision. When we finally did move into 160 square feet, though, it felt pretty big. Being really dedicated to tiny themes, this is our work vehicle. So we've had a lot of success repurposing windows and doors. For about $400 on the first container, we got 4 double-pane glass windows and a front door. Working together, Luke and I can finish the metalwork on a container in under 3 days. And then from the time of order to delivery, it takes us about 8 days in total to put windows, insulation, walls, and flooring in. Starting Boxouse, I got really excited about the idea that I now had the power to design and build everything I interact with in my space. When we were looking at a container, we designed this porch system which bolts onto the front doors of the container. It gives us a little bit of extra space, and in an hour, we can unbolt it, slide it inside, and have the container ready to ship out. Here's a container, pre-walls, and in one of the experimental flooring stages. A lot of times we're doing experiments, analyzing the results, and then reconfiguring our plan of approach. Here we had planned on using the standard hardwood floors that come in containers, but after refinishing them, we realized that bamboo flooring was probably a way better option. We finished the house in May, packed it up, and shipped it to Maker Faire. The thing that was really exciting to see was that it was so easy to flip down the window shades, lock them in place, and in a matter of hours, we have our house assembled, running off-grid in a brand new location. The container runs off a kilowatt of solar, which manages all the utilities in the house just fine. We decided to loft the bed in our bedroom to keep the dogs out and to give us some extra space for closet underneath. And sticking true to Luke's color ideals, the house is electric blue and bright orange. The kitchen's pretty simple. It's got a 2-burner stove, a small oven, a standing fridge, which we converted, or a standing freezer, which we converted into a fridge using an Arduino, and a small sink. Next to it is a shower that has an on-demand water heater, and the porch that provides a lot of extra storage. Here's us on our new site. On the new site, we'd planned on building out 2 houses, some raised bed gardens, and using the site as a demo to illustrate the way we wanted to live sustainably in our environment. What actually wound up happening was our friends saw the site, wanted to move in and build their own tiny houses. But after a year and a half of the experiment, the lot we were on sold, and we had to find a new place to live to make way for the 2-story doggy daycare that was moving in.
So with the pending gentrification of our lot, we started to really ask friends, like, how enthusiastic are you about this project? How involved do you want to get? And we were lucky enough to find this spot less than half a mile from our previous location. We got together with several other friends, put in $30,000 each, and we're the proud owners of 1/3 of an acre in West Oakland. It even had a small warehouse, about 1,700 square feet, soon to become the hub for a burgeoning tiny home community. So apologies if you were trying to drive in West Oakland during our relocation. Containers are very movable. They are not particularly compatible with roads. I finally had achieved my dream. We had our own forklift. I could just pick up my house and move it when something went wrong, or if I just got frustrated, I could just get on the forklift and push it around a little bit. So after we cleared out the brush, we were surprised and excited to find there were already parking lot lines. These then became our new home footprints. We rented them out to friends without a container, just the parking spot, for $600 a month. And then every other parking spot, you have a tiny home site. You have neighbors nearby, but not too close to collaborate with. Weekends became essentially barn raisings. This is a typical Saturday. People were not only experimenting with containers, but were bringing their own dreams for way less than they'd pay for rent or a car, and building them on site. We even had to start planning layout and getting a little better at driving the forklifts that we could fit everyone in. Over the course of an exciting 3 months, we got up to 10 total sites there, and we were more than covering the cost of our mortgage. Things were starting to get boring, so the city of Oakland decided to, again, step in and spice things up for us. This is the letter we received from the city. Essentially what it boils down to is that they were not okay with us asking forgiveness rather than permission. They would prefer it the other way around. So now, very quickly, to avoid rather large fines, we moved all of our containers and other unpermitted things off of the lot, have started a long and costly permitting process that will, over the course of the next year, result in us being the first above-board, fully legal, T's crossed, I's dotted, tiny home community in Oakland.
So at this point, we're getting pretty good at the drill. Scramble, relocate, keep on building. We found this warehouse that was big enough to put both our projects and those of our friends in. I got better at the art of container wrangling and forklift driving, and continued to build the current house we're working on. We also built out a studio for a friend of ours. It cost about $9,000 to complete, and we finished it in 7 days. This is our third tiny house community that we're working on. It's a place where makers can come together. We can share triumphs, failures, tools, and beer. It's a place where artists can create, engineers can push their boundaries, they can iterate, And we all learn that we're both a little bit of both.
So a metal box with neon orange 2x4s as the moldings and bright blue walls might not be your American dream home. If you take nothing else from this presentation, just take a moment and think about what you would actually like to live in, how you would actually like to live. We have all the information technology and many other things we take for granted on a daily basis because the adults stopped paying attention and the kids hacked away on the teletype, essentially. We have the exact same housing as our grandparents did because the opposite has been true. So take a moment, think about reclaiming a little permission to experiment with the structure you live in and the communities you are part of, and make your own American dream. Thank you.